and welcome to Your Ageless Musical Brain. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name, Dr. Hanna Poikonen. Dr. Hanna is the founder of the Wise Motion community. She's a dancer by heart and a neuroscientist by education. She's originally from Finland and currently lives in Spain. For many years, Dr. Hanna's research has focused on brain activity while the body is in motion and how the brain gains neuroplasticity and neurogenesis through dance movement, music, and the arts. Here's the key: long term. Dr. Hanna offers Wise Motion workshops, which enhances holistic well-being, self-awareness, and social bonding with movement, dance, and neuroscience. She's also involved in the Wise Motion recovery for people suffering from brain illnesses, head trauma, such as dementia, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, stroke, and accidents, including their personal caregivers. Dr. Hanna, it's an honor to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lucy. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Dr. Hanna, what sparked your interest in wanting to investigate what goes on in the brain of dancers, musicians, and movement artists?
Well, I've been dancing since I was a little girl. I've been painting, I've been very interested in arts, interested in movement, but at the same time, I was always fascinated by science, biomedical engineering, and neuroscience specifically. And I was living kind of separately these lives as an artist and as a scientist until I realized that actually I can bring these two fields together. So I found the word called art science, where art and science really merge together. And then I started to think that maybe we could understand the positive feelings, the feel good, the connection with other people, what I have experienced when dancing myself or when playing music with other people or when painting with other people. So I really wanted to kind of first of all start understanding these own experiences, what I had through artistic activities and movements. So I think that was the first spark, how I really got into the field of neuroscience, of dance and arts and movement.
Doctor, a lot of times when we hear the term neuroscience, we think of the brain, of its functions, research that has to do with brain illness. We don't necessarily think of neuroscience in relation to brain health and dance. Your focus is neuroscience movement, neuroscience dance, long-term and throughout our lifespan, how dance benefits our brain health. When you look at the expression in their faces, they're ecstatic. There's like this natural euphoria in which there's no need for anything to be taken inside the body. It is just this natural high, if you will, that is extremely healthy. So what does all of these kinds of activities then have in common in relation to brain health?
Well, I think the states what you described, then many of these people, they have entered into a flow state. Because if you look at the brain, they look joyful, but if you look at the brain, actually, the brain is doing complex tasks. It's not easy to kind of time your motor functions to the beat of the music at the same time having in physical contact with the other dancer and then maybe reacting to some other cues from the environment. So for the brain, in a way, it's quite complex task. So we really need very precise auditory motor interaction. So we really need to connect our movement to the sound, to the music. And also often if we dance with a pair that there is touch involved, we also need to match our movements to go in a kind of fluid harmony with the partner who we are dancing with. So I think why dance is so good for our brain health, there are more and more neuroscientific studies which really show that. I think that the reason is that it's so rich in experience. So there are many elements at the same time. There's the physical exercise, so we get the benefits of aerobic exercise. Really, the heartbeat goes up, we're sweating, but we're not counting our steps. So the kind of the physical exercise comes there as a side product. Then the music is present, and already we have noticed that when we just listen to the music, it activates our brain in a very versatile way. So it doesn't activate only the auditory brain regions, but it activates also our memories, our emotions, and other sensory areas like the motor related regions in the brain. In addition, there might be touch. So then there is also activation of the somatosensory areas. Then there is a collaboration. So we really tune together with other people, and then our brains literally go into the same brain waves with the other person who we're dancing with. So there are very many these elements at the same time, in an enjoyable way. So I think it's this holisticity of the dance practice, why it's so good for our brain.
Neuroscience has also brought to the spotlight how these activities plus time equal a healthier brain.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm often, when I tour around the world giving talks and speeches, people get inspired. And I said, like, well, it's good if I can bring you inspiration, but still you need to put it into the practice. So if you go once and dance and you get the enjoyment, of course it relieves the stress on that very moment. But then to really get these plastic changes in the brain, we need to continue repetitively. We need to continue weekly, usually twice a week might be a good dose to start having these plastic changes in the brain. So I really encourage people to keep up, and I think that's where the science comes in. Once we understand also scientifically, not only based on our own experience, but when we understand scientifically the joy of dance, then we're more likely to really keep up the regular dance activity.
You have an article in which you talk about happiness, how we can be happy at a moment's time when we're doing something and we feel good about it. So the important thing in understanding is that in long-term practice is where the neuroplasticity comes into play of what neuroscientists have discovered.
Yeah, so it looks like that they're kind of a movement in something called enriched environment. So in an environment which is very enriched for different kind of senses, for audition, for vision, for touch, for smells. So this kind of a movement in enriched environment, that seems to be the ideal environment for the neuroplasticity to happen. Yeah. And dance is a good example of such enriched environment with movement.
Yeah, and you also touched upon the senses, 5 senses. Doctor, what about your Wise Motion company? It's made its way, from what I've read all about you, is the retreat and tourism industry. Could you expand on that and tell us how you're able to have so much fun, help others, and yet at the same time do your research? Could you expand on that?
Absolutely. So why I went with Wise Motion to the retreat industry is that I really noticed that when people want to implement new routines into their daily lives, sometimes their everyday life is so busy that it's hard to really engage and really dedicate for new routines, even if these new routines would be beneficial for their health. So there might be the will, but then the everyday life is too demanding so that there would be a way. And one great way to implement new routines in your daily life is to start from a well-being retreat. So we gather together with the group for, let's say, 4 to 5 days minimum, sometimes longer, sometimes it can be just a long weekend, but then we really, over these days we are together, we focus on our well-being. So that's a good time when we really can start learning these daily routines. Okay, what to have for breakfast, what kind of movement practice to do in the morning, when do I need to rest during the day. So we really start to implement this kind of healthy routines into our daily life, and we only focus on that over these few days, including obviously the neuroscientific knowledge, so that we understand why we are doing these practices. And that I have noticed that has been very, very helpful to many of my clients to really continue these healthy routines in their daily lives after the retreats.
Is this theater incorporated into it too, right, with the movement?
Yes, the movement, I think that's really the key, and that's the other challenge for people who have live busy lives, that sometimes they don't have enough time to find time for the movement. But once your body gets into this routine of moving, then your body asks for it. So then your body is really craving, oh really, I want to put my favorite music on and dance with that. And that just comes out of you. You don't need to force it or plan it, but your body tells you what it needs, and you are tuned to listen to your body.
You're in tune to it, exactly. So that's the whole point of this show. You know, it's amazing the studies and research that you have done, because so many people out there are suffering on a day-to-day basis of anxiety, stress, and they see it as a way of life, as a way that their life is.
Yes, and we don't need to. There are relatively simple ways to start relieving the stress, start relieving the anxiety, to start elevating the mood. But we just need to kind of find these simple tools. But dance is one very, very good tool to start.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It gets the happy hormones going, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hanna. Dance, music, and the arts is the way. Plus, time. Time is key, right, Dr. Hanna?
Absolutely.
Yes, it definitely helps the brain stay as young as possible.
Yes, so we can really decide what do we do with the time we have. That's that kind of brain we are going to have in the future.
Doctor, thank you so much. I look forward to having you on another show in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rishi.
Bye-bye.